Okay, let's talk about outlets and actions. These outlets and actions are core to being able to develop a Watchkit app, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to use them, and they're actually pretty simple once you start using them and once you understand what they're intended to be used for. In Xcode, we have this ability to use what is called the assistant editor. So if you come over here and you look at the top right, you have these two circles, and go ahead and click that. And what you'll see is you can go ahead and hide by clicking this button on the far right over here to hide the utilities menu. What you'll see here is Xcode takes, when you click the assistant editor, especially if you're on a storyboard, it'll take the storyboard and put it on the left, and it'll take the associated class with that storyboard and put it on the right. And that is how we'll set up our outlets and our actions. So to get into the guts of what an outlet is, go ahead and hold down the control button on your keyboard and select Hello World. Okay, you'll see this little menu come up and it says referencing outlets. All right, if you click the plus button and drag it over here to your controller and then let go, you'll get this little dialog. This little dialog is helping you create what's known as an outlet. So it's a connection between the storyboard and your controller, and in this case we can only choose an outlet. Later we'll be able to choose an action on, and I'll get to that in a minute. But right now it's just an outlet, so let's just focus on outlet. You need to give your outlet a name. Now the name you choose, I'm very big on naming things properly, so I'm going to call this Hello World Label, and that gives me, when I'm over here in my controller, I know what object I'm dealing with. Okay, the type is a label. We don't have any other options here. And then storage, just choose the default of week. When you're interacting with the storyboard and a interface controller, you'll want to choose weak storage because iOS manages the memory for you in that case. And I don't want to get into the details of how that all works at this point, but just go ahead and choose weak. Go ahead and connect it. So if you come over here in your controller, you can see now that you have access to this label. Now what's really cool is if you come over here to this little circle on the left, you'll be able to see in the storyboard that it highlights what outlet is being connected here. So in this case we can see our Hello World label is being connected over here. So that gives us access, programmatic access to the label. If you come down in here and just do a simple function test for now, you can see that if you just start typing the word of the name of the label that you gave it, you can come in here, you can type hello world label dot set text hello lowercase and click save. So anytime that this method test is called, the text of the hello world label will be set to hello lowercase. So that brings us to actions. That was an outlet, and that brings us into actions. So at this point, you're wondering, well, how does the user interact, and when would we want to change the text? The way that we enable users to interact with our Watchkit app is via actions. So actions can be enabled on certain interface objects. A button, for example, in this case, we'll use a button. You can also enable them on switches, sliders, and menu items. And I have videos for each of those and we will get into details about those in other videos. So the way that you enable an action on a button is by going over to your storyboard, holding down the control button on your keyboard, clicking the button, and dragging it from the storyboard over to your interface controller, and then letting go. Now, the way that we get an action to show up is in this dialog, and we need to choose under connection, we need to choose action. Okay, so you could also create an outlet for your button, say if you wanted to programmatically change properties of the button, but in this case we want to make an action for the button. So when the user taps on the button, this method, this action method, will be invoked. So let's call it hello button tapped. Okay, we'll go ahead and click connect. So it goes ahead and creates a method for us. Now, if you notice the same type of thing, this circle over here, if you come and hover over the circle, it shows what that action is connected to. So in this case, the action is connected to the hello button. Now what we want to do is go ahead and call our test method, which changes the text of the hello world label to lowercase, to all lowercase. So let's actually rename the method. Let's call it lowercase hello world text, just for now. So if we come in here, call this method, now what will happen when the user taps this button is that this text should change. So let's go ahead and run our app. Go over here to run, and let's see what happens. Build succeeded. App should launch. App is launching. Okay, we've got our button, hello world 42 millimeters, because we're currently in 42 millimeter mode. If you want to check, you can come into hardware, external displays, and see where your checkbox is. So 42 millimeter. All right, let's go ahead and tap the hello button. There you go. The text changed to hello or lowercase. That is the basics of an action and basics of an outlet. And this is very fundamental. So if you need to, rewatch the video, learn how it works, and obviously let me know if you have any questions. And that's it for outlets and actions.